visual cueing is really important as well, because like I said, we have different kind of learners in our class. Sometimes people do better with verbal stuff, sometimes people do better with visual, sometimes people do with kinesthetic. So visual cueing, examples of that. Pointing, you know, oh, this is to the right, this is to the left, and obviously I'm mirroring, but still, these kind of points. Throwing up a hand, 5 seconds left, this kind of stuff. That way, the person in the back that might not necessarily even hear the mic at that point, I would love to say mics function properly all the time, they don't. So that's just the way that it is. Those kind of things, exaggeration cues. This is really great for form and technique. So if somebody is keeping their shoulders up, or if they're bending really forward in their knees, or something that's bad for their form and technique, you can show them, I think that's my form actually, you can show them shoulders and then take this and press them down, right? And give them that exaggeration, because you might even say over and over again, get your shoulders down, and half the people aren't going to do it. But if you do this, some people are, right? They're going to be like, okay, they may be talking to me. I tell everybody in my classes, if I give you a form and technique cue, assume I'm talking to you, no matter what. Because if they don't, half the people that are needing to fix it don't fix it, where I have my people with perfect form and they're like, oh, I have to get my butt down. And I'm like,
yep.
sit up.
Awesome.
Also,
real quick, Lindsay.
Yes.
Like you said, the exaggerational, there's I forget the exact percentage, but it's like your class participants will do around 40 to 50% of what you will do. So if you're up there going 100%, they'll do half of that. So you got to be 150% or more. You have to really exaggerate every move. You do a couple reps, and then you can walk around and correct and fix form. But almost everyone will do half of what you're doing, if not less.
Absolutely. Exaggeration does go in that way too, where you have to exaggerate your movements as an instructor. Make them larger than life. You might think that you are going really, really hard, and my suggestion for that is to videotape yourself and see how you look doing the moves. And if you find that you have some sort of weird thing that you need to tweak, then you can tweak it a lot easier. But yeah, they have to be big, big movements. And I will say, for people with longer limbs, that's harder, because if you have really long limbs, you have to extend larger than you think is necessary. You feel like you're going to look like a clown, and you have to go all out to get them to do it.
Yeah.
Another version of a visual cue that's also a motivational cue, Maxim does this to me all the time when I take his class. You come up to somebody and you show them what you want. So if you want high knees, you go right up to them and you say, I want them up here, I want them up here. And they will absolutely take those knees higher. They absolutely will. Or Maxim will just come down to me, he doesn't say anything. And he just starts going faster. Because he knows that I can go faster, right? And so then I'm like, dang it, I have to go faster. And so you do. And that's one of the cool things about Insanity too, is that you can leave the front of the room. You can walk to the back of the room and do things with people. You can get right up to somebody and be like, girl, we're doing this together, come on. And then they will take that challenge and go with you. And they learn they can go harder than they thought they could, which is really, really cool. So, who wants to read tips for visual cueing? Anybody? I know, I'm sorry, I'm like, don't look at it, now look at it.
Face the participants, demonstrate all those with perfect form, exaggerate all movements.
Beautiful. You can go keep going, yeah.
All three step method to keep your participants moving while teaching Insanity. Get them moving, introduce and physically demonstrate the move. Fine-tune the movement. Choose a few to suggest as powerful cues, verbal and non-verbal, to support proper form and technique. Let them own it. After you fine-tune the movement, let them own it. Participants won't always get better in 10 minutes, but they will over 10 classes.
That's perfect. So I think that last one is really important for all of us to let soak in. And again, I'm letting you own that last cue. Have you ever had something that you're not necessarily great at the beginning, and you had a boss or an authority figure come up to you and be like, I need you to do this. And then you're like, okay, I got it. And then they keep repeating it to you over and over and over again in a shorter period of time. Has anybody had that happen to them?
Yes. Micromanaging.
Have, right? Or, you know, I mean, that happens with instructors too, where it's like, get your butt down, get your butt down, get your butt down. And it's one thing to say it to the class, but to harp on somebody individually about it, you can't really do. You can say, you can come up to them and pull the mic away and be like, you lower your hips, right? And then walk away and let them own it. But if you stood next to them and you were like,
Lower.
keep going, why don't you lower your hips? Come on, that kind of thing. Then I'll guarantee you they're gonna leave class, right? And or they won't leave, but they're not coming back next year, right? So let them have that moment to do it. Remember, not everybody is gonna participate at the same level. The back row, his intensity might not be the same as the front row, and people might have imbalances that you don't know anything about. And usually they'll come talk to you about it. If you do come up to them and you're like, hey, we need to do this, they'll come talk to you about whatever it is. But just make sure that you do give them that ownership of their workout, because it is their workout, it's not your workout. So let them have that cue and let them have the time to let it sink in. And you'll notice if you do give them that time, they will progress over weeks. And it's really, really cool. Now, if somebody is doing something, go ahead.
Sorry, real quick. Also, those that don't get it right away, just tell them quietly, see me after class. And that's your chance after class to spend a few minutes with them one-on-one to refine the move. Or if you're a personal trainer as well at that gym, you can sign them up as a client.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I was going to say, too, that if somebody has really egregious form where it's like they're going to hurt themselves, and you know that, then do have them come see you after class just so you can be like, I just want to give you a couple of tips and tricks to make your workout better. You know, it doesn't have to be like, you suck. But give them those tips and then take them for the next week and see how it's not for you. Tara, ways to word things. Alright, so that takes us into mirroring. Do you want me to do mirroring or do you want to?
Yeah, go for it.
Awesome.
You're doing
I don't
great.
have the paper for mirroring, so I'll just
here you
talk
go.
about it, but awesome.
You can have mine and you can do
I'll
your
take
own.
your cool instructor book. This makes me feel so official. Here. So, does anybody know what mirroring is? Mirroring HPAs? Fantastic. Melissa, what is it?
It's when you face the participants.
Exactly. It's when you face the participants. Now, Insanity is a really cool format because you can face the participants most of the time. People aren't going to get confused if you do a squat jump facing them, or you do a squat jump facing this way, right? There's no really weird movements. Now, there are exceptions, like that weird football thing that we do in this. You do have to kind of get down and dirty and be like, you're going to touch with your right hand, and then you're going to throw with your hand. And you do have to explain it a little bit more. And you can flip around for those moves periodically, but for the majority of the time, you want to face the participants. So I'm pretty sure there are two main benefits of mirror image teaching. Does somebody want to read those for me? 1, 2. Yes, fantastic.
When you face your class, you can establish a better connection than compared to having your back to them. Even if there are mirrors on the wall, looking at someone's reflection is not as strong of a connection as looking at them directly. You will be able to motivate and engage them more when you face them.
Perfect. And then what about number 2?
Leading a class, you need to always be aware of what's happening over you, and that's not very easy to do when you're practicing. Again, even when there are mirrors on the wall, watching your class in the reflection is not as effective as looking at them directly. You will be just asking here for everyone's form technique, energy levels, and those things.
Perfect. And both of those, I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory, but they're true. As people in this world, we are encouraged to look in the mirror, right? So if you have a mirror in front of you, most of you are going to start doing this, right? You're going to be like, okay, I look okay, all right? And then you keep looking into the mirror. So even when you're teaching, it's really hard to take your eyes away from you when you're looking in the mirror. When you flip around, all of a sudden that mirror isn't there, and so you have to connect with the participants. And like I said, there are certain formats and there's also certain moves that you want to flip around just because it's going to be easier for them to pick up. But you want to take it to them as much as possible and create that one-on-one connection. Because that one-on-one connection is what keeps people coming back, right? They want that connection with you. They want to know you as an instructor. Also,
Lindsay?
Yes,
Real
sir.
quick about that connection, and I heard Katie mention this in one of her trainings. That connection, as our world is getting more technologically advanced, we're losing that kind of human-to-human interaction connection. So you, as a fitness instructor, you have a chance every day to make a real solid impact of actually connecting with people one-on-one, not through a social media or a phone outlet, but actual real life interaction. And that actually, there's studies that have showed that that really boosts kind of your soul, your spirit, and makes you kind of feel more valuable. So it's really all about connections. That group X, the X stands for experience, not for exercise. It's group experience.
I love that. Katie is a very wise lady. If you ever have a chance to train with her. So, something about a connection, but I think that that's probably what you had. It's amazing the kind of connection you get. Oh, I remember. Another way to talk about it is we call it the 5-second flirt. So, with people in the room, however many people you have, try and spend about 5 seconds with their eyes during the time. No matter how many people you have, just switch your eye gaze around the room, and it doesn't have to be like, hey. But it should be just a little look. I smile at people, right? I look and I smile. And I give that and I smile, you know? Or I come up to them and at some point I say, great job. And that makes a huge difference in their workout. They love that kind of stuff. So when you are scanning the room, do make eye contact with people. Don't just be like, look here. Because you can tell, right? As a participant, you can tell if your instructor's not engaged with you. All right, and we already talked about there is a benefit of flipping from time to time, so we don't have to talk about that. Now remember, when you're mirror image teaching, the trickiest part of this, and this comes with practice as well, if you've never mirrored before, like I said, when I point this way, I mean to the left. When I point this way, I mean to the right. So your right hand is their left, your left hand, or yeah, your left hand is their right? So you have to think about that kind of stuff when you're doing it. So when you say 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you want to go right first, you're going to have to step with your left first to get your participants to go to the right. And that's something that takes a little bit of thought, and you have to kind of process it and get it into it. The way that I look, when I'm facing forward, the room is this way. When I'm facing this way, the room reverses, and so anything that I'm doing, I always just reverse it in the head, so the room actually flips in my head, and so everything, it always stays on the same side in my head, but it just is what works for you. And if you're not great, go ahead.
No, go ahead, finish your
If
thought.
you're not great at mirroring, or if you don't, if you're consistently being like, to the left, and then you're like, I meant to the right, I'm sorry. Don't say those cues as much, you know? Get used to it first, and then give more directional cues, because you know which way you want them to go. And so even if you're like, come on, 3-step here, and you give them that instead of saying like, to the right first, that will get you used to it until you can actually make that brain-body connection, and then you can actually say